entertainment, insights. Don't take life too seriously. Welcome to Brainski Unleashed. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Brainski Unleashed. Today we have Kevin Palmieri joining us. Kevin Palmieri has a podcast. He is a founder of Next Level University. And when I say this man has a podcast, he only has about 900,000 listeners across 160 countries. So very well respected, very well known. And this is the kind of guy that spends his time helping people. And here we are in the season of giving. And my gift to you, ladies and gentlemen, is Kevin Palmieri. So Kevin, welcome.
Thomas, thank you so very much for having me. I appreciate it. I appreciate the time, and I'm excited to see where we go with our conversation.
Absolutely. And with an intro like that, you just can't fail.
Well, usually what I say is hopefully I can live up to the introduction and the reputation you've created for me.
Yes, well, hopefully we can. So let's just jump right into it. You work with people, you try and get them to reset their minds, because everything in life, if you're going to be successful, is mainly attitude based, right?
That's a big part, attitude, behavior, mindset. But even the first step is let's help you figure out what is success for you. One of the hardest parts of the self-improvement space, and any space, but self-improvement in general, is you're giving a very specific piece of advice to a wide web of humans. And not everybody wants to be a millionaire. Not everybody wants to be married with children. Not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. So step one is usually, if nobody was going to judge this and nobody was ever going to see what your own unique version of success looked like, write down what that would actually look like. And let's talk about that, because I don't know what's worse, Thomas, thinking that you want a result and never getting it, or thinking you want a result, getting it, and then realizing you didn't want the result in the first place.
Interesting. You know, I don't normally look at things that way. And so if I don't, I mean, clearly I'm the most normal individual there is on earth, but if I'm not normally seeing it that way, there's at least a high probability that others aren't. And, you know, I've been through plenty of, self-help things, your Tony Robbinses, your speakers, your books, your all this other stuff. But that's a really interesting perspective, is really getting down to what you might really want versus what you think you really want. So how do we do that? Give me an example. Like, what does that look like? Let's just say I'm sitting there, I'm on your couch in your studio that you probably don't have. And I come to you and I say, I want things. I have a desire. Can you help me? What does this look like?
Usually, so this is what people, it starts with this. These are the results I want. Awesome. I love that. That's the 10,000, 30,000, 50,000 foot view. Amazing.
Right. Yeah.
Tell me what your day looks like, though. That's what I want. I care more about what is the day-to-day looking like for you. And here's an example why. I was working with someone one time and he said, I want to do exactly what you guys are doing. And I said, okay. And he said, but eventually I want to get to the place that you guys want to get to, the top of the top in the self-improvement space.
Right.
Awesome. That's our goal. And I said, well, let me check on your day-to-day. On a scale of 0 to 10, how much do you think you'll value and how important do you think it'll be to you to get your kids off the bus? And he said, 10 out of 10. I said, all right. What about going to their sporting events and that type of stuff? Parent-teacher conference, all that. And he said 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10, of course. I mean, you don't want to sound like an a-hole by going, you know what? I want to outsource the kids getting off.
Right. But I know this person. So for him, this was real. He's a family man at heart. And I said, do you think that the life and the results that you're giving me are in alignment or are not going to work with the lifestyle that you want to live? And after that conversation and digging deeper and deeper, we got to the point where he said, you know what, that probably isn't it for me. So usually what I like to do is say core values, core beliefs, and core aspirations. If your core beliefs, your core values, and your core aspirations are misaligned, it's usually if your core values and your core beliefs are misaligned with your aspirations, that's where we get in trouble. Aspirations are what we want.
Right.
Right? Values are who we are. Beliefs are what we believe. If those are in alignment, you're usually in a better spot. So yeah, what does your day-to-day life look like and what really matters to you and what do you value? Not what do you want the results of your life to be?
Right. So that's interesting. So then from there, are you going to suggest chunking it down to certain hours per day or certain tasks that need to be done?
Yeah, so we tend to do like 5 years out, then we'll do a year out,
Mhm.
then we'll do a quarter out, and then the quarter out leads to these are the habits that you should probably be practicing every day.
Okay, so this
That's
is so you're working essentially with a giant goal setting exercise while
yeah.
trying to maintain reality, the reality of being, you may say you want this, but does it actually align with who you are and where you belong? Well, if your priorities are, as you said, getting the kids off the bus, watching the soccer games, making the cookies, making the lunches, all this other stuff. Well, if you don't have time to dedicate to the project that you say you want,
Yeah.
stop there.
Yeah, and then so one of their habits might be spend 2 hours a day with the family. Right?
Yeah,
For me, so this is a really good way to look at it. Last year, I think I went on like 600 other podcasts.
but I'm the best.
You're the best.
Thank
Well, you're this year, so
you. Yeah. Oh,
you'll be
right.
on this year's award
Number
ceremony, not
one,
last year's.
2023.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes.
All right.
And coming to the end of the year too, so I have a lot of reps to put you
I mean,
against.
I look forward to speaking to you again on January 2nd, so that way I could win 2024 as well.
Well, you'll get an early start
Yeah,
to it.
right. I mean, I'm a winner, so
You
anyway.
100%, 100%.
Yeah,
So the reason I put that in there is because my goal is to be the best podcaster possible. Other people shouldn't be on that many shows because it doesn't serve their purpose.
right.
It just isn't what they should be doing because it's not what they value. If your day to day can make up the weeks, that make up the months, and make up the years that will ultimately lead you to the version of success that you want, that is really what we're playing for. And then another unique approach that we try to take is we try to break it up into health, wealth, and love. Health, wake up and weigh yourself and track your calories and drink enough water and exercise for 30 minutes. Wealth, track your finances, learn every single day, make connections with business potential, whatever it is.
Mhm.
And then love, if you have a family, I want you to spend the amount of time with your family that is aligned for you. And if you can do those things, there is no more sustainable life when you're doing the things that actually fulfill you as a human and bring you closer to the goals that you have determined are most aligned.
So basically, what you're saying is that you're helping people balance their lives through goal setting, through planning, through time management. So these are tools in the tool chest that you're using that most of us completely ignore that are actually sitting there right at our fingertips.
I like the word juggling instead of balance
Okay. And
because
well, it
depending on
is
the
it is a
season,
juggle. It
yeah,
really is. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, depending on the season, right now is a heavy business season. So I'm going to the gym every other day,
Mhm.
where 6 months ago, I was going to the gym 7 times a week and business was different. But yeah, if you think about somebody who's growing a business, they focus on certain numbers. But for some reason, the second we leave the office and we go home, we don't look at numbers anymore. It's just like, well, yeah, my relationship's okay, my body's okay. I don't really know what I'm doing. It's just take the numbers that you're tracking and bring them home with you and then put them into your love life
Mhm.
and put them into your health as well.
So break down for me numbering a love life. Like
Mm,
what's an example of numbering a love life? I mean, you can number a gym. I do X amount of reps.
mhm.
You can number a business. I bring in X amount of revenue or sell X amount of widgets or make X amount of phone calls. Numbering a love life. I've hugged my wife how many times a day? Like what does that look like? I pat my kids on the back and kiss my dog and what?
Yeah, again, so even that, I hug my wife X amount of times a day. That could be it. I have X amount of meaningful moments with my partner per day.
Mhm.
My wife and I have something called the gratitude game, where every night before we go to bed, we say one thing we're grateful for about one another. And you just boop, check it off. Did that yesterday, did that the next day, blah, 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 blah. That's a really good one. For some people, it might be a weekly adventure. It might not be a daily check
Mhm.
mark. It might be every week, because maybe hypothetically, your partner values fun, unique experiences more than you do. So you want to make sure that your partner is getting their cup filled because you realize that your cup and their cup are just a little bit different.
Right.
I just think it's more about the measurement. What can we start measuring? Can we just say, okay, we're going to do every day, we're going to try to have a mindful moment together where we turn off the pressure of the world and we just hug.
Hmm.
Check it off. When we get to the point where we've done that every day for a week, maybe we'll start to see some level of deeper connection, some level of result. Okay, cool. Then maybe we can say, all right, now that we have that down to a sustainable practice, what can we add to it? Maybe it's a weekly trip. Maybe it's I love having me nights where my wife does her thing and I do my thing.
Mhm.
That's something that we're measuring now. Okay, I need a me night. You need a me night. Awesome.
Right.
So it's very custom to the person. But even the meaningful moments that you said, yeah, you could start off with a minute of hugs a day.
Oh, I kind of like where you're going. It's a little bit different than your typical run of the mill advice column, advice session that, set goals, follow goals, check on goals, measure goals, write more goals.
Yeah.
So let's then talk about your success rating, not just with yourself, but other people. I mean, do you have any examples of success stories and what does that look like?
In terms of success stories, in terms of what?
People you've helped,
Oh yeah, yeah.
known people that you've just made massive differences in, or even just, good differences, remarkable differences in their lives.
Yeah, so for us, it's kind of the stuff behind the scenes that you'll never see because you might not know the person. But just as an example, we have someone on our team. So this is someone that works with us every single day,
Mhm.
and we're a self-improvement company. So our goal is to help the team as much as anyone else. And we have several people who have exercised every single day for over a year.
Mm,
So one of our team members did miles for mindset, and
okay.
he ran a mile every single day
Mm.
for like 400 days straight. Rain, snow, sleet, hail, it doesn't matter. He's very disciplined,
Mhm.
but he just needed a little bit of extra direction.
Yeah.
Somebody else on the team who had a really, really negative relationship with their body to the point where they at one point called it a broken piece of garbage.
Wow.
And they didn't think they could exercise at all. They didn't think they could pour into their own unique self-love. And they've exercised every day for over a year. Those are just simple examples of when you have the right people around you, positive people, really.
Mhm.
They don't have to be coaches. They don't have to be people into self-improvement like us, but positive people. That's one step. When you have people who put wind into your wings and wind into your sails, that's another huge thing. The necessity, okay, there's other people doing what I'm doing. I want to make sure I don't let the team down. That's a huge thing. The accountability of having other people around watching what you do, that's a huge thing. One of my favorite things I've ever done, Thomas, I went to the mall with a listener of our podcast.
Mhm.
She reached out to me and said, I'm terrified to start conversations with strangers. I always feel like I'm an outsider in these conversations. And I don't know, I just kind of want to take control of my life. All right, cool. So we went to the mall and I said, by the end of today, my goal is to have you talking to strangers and starting conversations with strangers and doing the stuff that you just didn't believe was possible for you. So we meet, hug it out. First of all, don't meet strangers at the mall. It's the first thing I said to this person. We know each other, so it's good. But we went into this store and I said, all I want you to do is start by asking them how much all of these things are.
Mhm.
And she said, there's no way. There's no way. I said, they are going to be bored. They want to talk to you. It's going to make their day. Just borrow my belief and do that. That went well. We went to another store. We went to another store. We went to another store. And by the time we were getting ready to leave that day, for some reason, there were these mechanical zoo animals with wheels that you can
Mm.
rent
Yeah, I've
at the mall.
seen these.
Have you seen
Okay.
those?
Okay, where is this?
It's in New Hampshire.
Oh, okay. I saw them in New Jersey recently at the America Mall or whatever it's called.
It's a big business,
Yeah, I
evidently.
tell you what, I wanted to get on those things.
Well, this person said if we were really brave, we would rent those and ride those around the mall.
That's
And
brave. Come on.
I didn't want to do it at all. I didn't want to do it.
What?
But I have a video on my phone of us riding these things around the mall.
Yeah.
And I show this when I do speaking engagements. After this person ended up going back to college, even though they've been told they were too stupid, they got a 3.9 GPA. So I think they did just fine.
Nice.
They ended up coming on our team and worked with us for several years. And then they ended up moving from a small town in Rhode Island to Nashville, chasing their dreams. They got the job of their dreams, and now they have a home out there. And that was just one conversation, one bout of fear chasing, one day of action that they might not have taken if somebody wasn't helping them or guiding them to do it. So that's always my favorite success story, quote unquote.
No, I dig that. That's fantastic. And you got to ride those silly little animals. I mean,
I'm telling you,
hello.
they're pretty quick. Believe
Yeah.
it or not.
I mean,
They hustle.
they look like it. I saw a bunch of kids on it and, I really wanted to ride it, but what kind of guy would I be if I ran up to a kid and threw him off the thing so I could ride it? That might not look so good. Not that I care.
Probably not.
But, I guess I care a little bit. So, you've obviously helped a lot of people. You communicate with people every single day.
Yes.
Somewhere you can probably pull a estimated statistic out of your head or an estimated idea, what is people's, in general, the biggest fear that people suffer from that hold them back, do you think?
Failure, rejection, and judgment.
Okay.
Those are the three.
So you've got an audience that is listening. You've got 900,000 people plus myself, of course. So 900,001. How can we overcome the fear of rejection, the fear of failure, these fears?
Unfortunately, now more than ever, I think the only way to overcome it is to experience it.
And say that's my advice is just do it. Just get out there and do it.
Yeah, I think you have to. It's one of those same thought. I've met a lot of people who you say, "Hey, have you ever tried this food?" And
Right.
they say, "Ah, no, that's disgusting." But they've never tried the food. They don't know the food is actually disgusting. They just
Right.
assume it is. So then it becomes an off limits item that they're never going to have.
And it could be disgusting, but you don't really know until you try it.
It could be the worst thing you've ever had, or it could be your new favorite food, depending on you actually trying it. So it's the simple thing of exposure therapy.
Yeah.
We have to expose ourselves to the things that we're afraid of, but in micro quantities. If you are afraid of public speaking, the last thing you should do is get on stage in front of 1,000 people for your first speech.
Right.
You should probably practice in the mirror or practice into your cell phone. But that requires bravery, it requires courage, and the biggest thing I think it requires is humility. The humility to say, I am going to do something today that in the grand scheme of everything seems like nothing. But I do believe it will be a good foundation for me to start. But it's very humbling to start from what seems like less than zero, unfortunately. But I think we've all been there in some category of life.
Do you feel that in order to be truly successful in the realm that you're talking about, not necessarily successful as what we would define maybe as, I've got X amount of net worth, right? But
Mm.
successful with oneself. Do you feel that there is a necessity for a spiritual connection, or does that seem to matter? Like in my belief, I feel like there has to be something bigger than myself. I have to
Mhm.
be able to achieve something bigger than myself, answer to something bigger than myself. Is there a necessity for that for exponential growth, or not? Do you think
Um,
it's maybe
it's a
somewhat
great question.
controversial, but I don't mind unless you do.
No, no. I I'm somebody who believes in spirituality. I don't practice a religion or
Mhm.
look to a religion,
Yeah,
but even to your point, my goals have created something that's way beyond and way more important than me.
yeah.
So I would say as long as you can point to something in your life that is more meaningful than just the experience you're having, I don't think that'll ever be a bad thing. What I would say is I think fulfillment is a requirement for quote unquote success, because here's the thing: you can have all the external results in the world, but if you don't have internal fulfillment, internal self trust,
That-
internal appreciation, then I think you're in trouble. There's a lot of people out there that have the internal game down pretty strong, but they don't have external results yet. But you can get the external results. I don't know what's harder, getting internal peace and internal alignment or getting external results. So,
Oh, I would argue that external results are not nearly as important as the internal piece, because you can have internal happiness and joy and be able to really feel the results of that external reward. Let's
yeah,
just say money, for example. You could be a nine-figure, net worth kind of guy. I mean, this is a big deal, right? Maybe you're a billionaire, who knows? But if you're a billionaire and you're empty on the inside, there ain't amount of dollars on earth or planes or
yeah,
jets or helicopters or toys or people. None of that will fulfill you.
yeah,
And so I think the internal has to come before the
100%.
external.
Yeah. It's just hard to measure that.
It
It's
is.
really hard to, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I've ever met somebody who woke up one day and said, my goal is to be the most fulfilled version of myself. Well, I probably have. I've met a lot of people that are very, very aware of self.
Well,
But
it's a self-awareness,
yeah,
without that self-awareness, I don't think that you could ever get there.
yeah,
You have to know who you are and what's in your heart and whether you actually feel satisfied.
yeah,
I mean, like for me, like I'm the type of guy, whether I'm making a lot of money that day, that year, that month, whatever, or man, it's a famine out there and, I'm dying on a vine. I can still be very happy.
Mm.
I still have that joy in my heart, that the gratitude for whatever it is in my life. I mean, yeah, you know what? Life may suck right now, but that is air in my lungs. I am rewarded with air going in and out of my lungs. And I don't think some people necessarily have that kind of gratitude or knowing where they're at spiritually, getting right with their God or whatever it is. I think that does provide that internal balance or that internal peace
Yeah.
where there's, I do know some people, and it is unfortunate, who are wildly financially successful. They're successful in business. They're successful in lots of things, but yet, man, they seem empty inside. And
Mm.
you look at them, and I think that they like to view themselves as a picture of success, a picture of greatness. But how great are you when you actually appear completely empty?
I think now more than ever, self-improvement, it's crossed over into too many things. If you're learning about business, I don't really think that's self-improvement. I think that's business improvement. It's different where a lot of people teaching self-improvement are very financially successful, but we don't know what their lives are like behind the scenes. We don't know what their relationships are like.
Right.
We don't know what their relationships are like with themselves. So
Right.
I 100% agree with all that.
Yeah. There's a lot of darkness out there with some of
Of course.
these high net worth individuals. And it's sad because, you want to wrap your arms around and say, hey, listen, you know, you can be happy and it
Mm.
doesn't always take money. You can have
Yeah.
all the money. No one's going to take it away from you. But what about what's in the heart?
Mm.
You know?
Yeah.
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 Cool. So, yeah, I really like the way in which you present this. I really like the way in which you kind of drive for the heart before you look at other things. So, if 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 anyone was just listening or working with you, you've sort of addressed what is to be expected right out of the gate.
Mm.
How long does this generally take for people to kind of work through your process with them? And I realize that generally is a very interesting term because you may have people who are very receptive, but you also probably have people who fight you tooth and nail. So as an average, what does that look like?
Our group coaching program is 90 days.
Okay.
And usually at the end of 90 days, everybody is pretty on track with tracking anywhere from 6 to 12 habits.
Hmm.
At that point, they've learned a bunch. At that point, they have a pretty positive community. So I would say, yeah, 3 months.
Sure.
If you can do things consistently for 3 months, you build a lot of self trust and you'll start to see some level of results, even if it's just the confidence to feel like you're on track with doing what you're doing. I would say 3 months is a reasonable amount of time to expect some level of results, whether probably mostly internal,
Hmm.
more internal results than external. 90 days.
So I'm going to ask a very tough question.
Sure.
All right. Not everyone has the benefit of being in relationships with people in their lives, be it spouses, lovers, supports, family, whatever.
Mm.
Is sometimes, and often, too often, I think, I guess, people are with those who suck the air out of the room, not as
Mhm.
supportive. Could be toxic, maybe not toxic, but just not highly supportive. What do you say to people who are in these marriages? They love their spouse, they love their brother, they love their sister, they love their mother. They can't replace their mother. They don't want to divorce their mother, right, or their father. How do you get them to still climb out when the support system isn't there?
That is the billion-dollar question.
Ain't it though?
It's hard to talk about stuff like that because oftentimes it seems cold. But I had a conversation with a client one time whose family is toxic. They have a toxic family, 1000%. And I said, look, there's many options, but I don't know if anybody's really going to give it to you this straight. Most likely, your family's going to die before you do. And then you'll have the opportunity after that to go all in on the person that you want to become. But what are we going to wait another 20, 30 years to be the most aligned, fulfilled version of yourself? If you have the privilege and the opportunity to limit the amount of time you're spending with these people, that's where I would start.
Yeah.
Again, way easier said than done. It's the question of it's going to be painful right now, but it is probably what's best for me long term. But to your point, Thomas, I would probably say, all right, I feel like right now I am stuck in a lot of situations and a lot of energies I don't want to be in. I would seek out positive people before you start reallocating time with negative people, because you're going to need the positive people to lean on when the negative people lash out.
Yeah,
That would be
true.
That would be the first step, is reach out to positive people before you do anything, because you're going to want to lean on them anyway.
So what is your advice for finding positive people? Where do you find such creatures?
If you were looking for Taylor Swift fans, you'd go to a Taylor Swift concert, you'd join a Taylor Swift Facebook group, you'd go to an autograph signing, whatever it is. I think it's the same with positive people. There's so many Facebook groups, there's so many book clubs, there's so many blogs, so many podcasts, so many websites. Make it a mission to seek out 15 different places that has content and leadership that you resonate with, and then just start sending messages to people in there, building relationships. Facebook groups are a really good place to go. We're all seeking community at the end of the day. Sometimes, unfortunately, you're going to have to be the one who puts in the effort to build your community. So that's what I would say. Facebook groups, events, meetups. There's a ton of different event apps now that are for self-improvement or whatever it may be. Get outside of your comfort zone, get outside of the normalcy that you usually do, and I'm sure you'll meet some people.
I agree with you there, especially on like the business events, right? So if people are going to a business event, like a self-help kind of business event, or just a simple self-help event, you're going to be around a lot of people who have a lot of positive energy, because that's what they're going there for. They've already got some, and they're going for even more. And that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
We are unfortunately short on time, so I do need to cut it here. But what would be like the last bit of advice, wisdom that you would offer people who are listening? And how can they find you?
The last piece of advice, wisdom, it's just one of my favorite quotes. The biggest difference between the person you are today and the person you want to be eventually is your habits. So if you can practice small things, a lot of the habits we talked about today are pretty small, and they probably seem pretty insignificant, but if you stack them over a long enough period of time, a lot of things can happen. And I am an example of that for sure, as many of the people who are quote unquote successful are. And then the best place is either the podcast, Next Level University. We do an episode every day, so we can get a little bit better every day. And Instagram, my handle is @NeverQuitKid.
NeverQuitKid and Next Level University. I encourage everyone to check those out. God, to podcast every day, I give you a lot of credit. That
Thank you.
That is tough to do. So I give you a lot of credit on that one. Anyone who's never done a podcast before, that's a heck of a cadence right there. So good for you. Well, listen, again, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the program. I really enjoyed this, and I'd maybe like to hook up with you again at some point. So
I'm in.
That was
Consider it done.
really good. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
All right.